Right. So now this is the part where you're going to get mad at me. And so I'm going to teach you another way to do some division called synthetic division. And this division is a quick hand way to do the long division. And I picked the same problems on purpose. Okay. And we're going to kind of go back to what I just did on the previous page. Okay. So how do you do synthetic division? The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure the degree of the divisor is 1. It's 1. We're good. And make sure the leading coefficient of the divisor is 1. So like that's 1 there. Okay, if it's not, we're going to have to fix it. We're going to have some work to do there. Now, we're going to put make sure these are in order. Okay, and you have to plug in 0 for any missing terms. And you want to put the opposite of the constant down. So the opposite of -5 is 5, and you're going to put that in a box in the corner here. And then you're going to write down the coefficients of these terms across. So 2, -7, -8, and -35. So we're going to put the coefficients of those across there. All right. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to bring the first number down, 2, and then you're going to go start multiply diagonally and add down. Okay, I was trying to see what the direction said. Let's go through this. So what you're going to do now is you're going to multiply these two. So what's in the box times the number down here. 5 times 2 is 10, and you're going to put that 10 in this next spot. So it's what we call multiplying diagonally. That's what they mean by multiplying diagonally. And then you're going to add down. So then you're going to add these two down. So -7 plus 10 is 3. Multiply diagonally. 5 times 3 is 15. I promise you this is easy. So you multiply diagonally, and whatever you get, put it in the next spot, and then add down. -8 plus 15 is 7. Multiply diagonally. 5 times 7 is 35, and then add down. Now notice, look at your solution here. Look at the solution to look at these coefficients and that 0. By the way, this 0 represents the remainder. So that 0 is the remainder. So the last term is the remainder. So the last term is the remainder. Now, what do I do with these coefficients? So what you do is you go down 1 on the power. So it starts off at x cubed. So you go down 1 on the power. So we go down to x squared. And these starting at x squared, you go x squared, x, and then the constant. Okay, so your solution is going to be 2x squared plus 3x plus 7. No remainder, so we don't have to worry about that. So this is a quick way to do this division here, this polynomial division. And honestly, it'll probably take you 15 to 30 seconds whenever you get good at it. So it's going to be awesome. All right. So just another way to do this. Now on this one, we got a couple of things we need to do. First off, we need to put these in order. And we also need to, we actually got to, let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to put these in order. 4x to the fourth minus x squared minus 2x plus 4 divided by 2x minus 1. And the next thing we need to do is we need to divide everything by the coefficient here, leading coefficient there, okay? Your number in front of the x has to be 1. So I have to divide by 2, everything by 2, okay? Now I'm going to put the opposite of this constant in the box. So opposite of -1/2 would be +1/2. And I'm going to write down these coefficients. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now notice there's no x cubed. So I've got to put a 0 for x cubed. -1/2 for the x squared. -1 for the x. And then 2 for the constant there. Bring down the 2. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 2, which is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. Plus -1/2, which is 0. 1/2 times 0 is 0. Be -1. 1/2 times -1 is -1/2. Okay. And so that would be 3/2. Okay, and we'll talk about how this plays out. And so then what you do is you will go down 1 on the exponent. So down 1 from x to the fourth. So it'd be x to the third. Okay, so it'd be x to the third. So it's going to be 2x to the third plus x squared plus 0x, so there's no x, minus 1. Now your remainder is 3 halves. So it'd be plus 3 halves, so it'd be 3 and then times halves, which is 2, and it's divided by x minus 1 half, okay? And so what's going to happen here, though, is you're going to need, it's 3 halves, but you remember when you put on the bottom what you divided by, and what you divided by was x minus 1 half in this case. And so what you're going to end up doing is you're going to end up multiplying, which since we had to divide by 2, we end up having to multiply this by 2 anyways. And so your remainder is basically 3, but this 2 represents what you're going to multiply this bottom by, because you had to divide it by 1 half, 2. So you're basically multiplying by 2 at the end to fix it. So you get 2x cubed. I know that sounds confusing. This is the one part where it can kind of get confusing on this. 2x minus 1. Okay, and so this gives you your solution. So we had to divide by 2 at the very beginning. And so we've also got to remember that divided by 2 here, we got to multiply whenever we're doing the remainder here, putting it over we divided by 3 divided by 2, we can multiply that bottom by 2 to get what we had for our original divisor. And so that's our solution, which matches with the original here that we got from the previous problem. Okay.